John Wick HEX is a really challenging game. It is a lot of fun though. The game has this kind of almost cartoon-like artistic feel, but don't let that deceive you. It's very mature in terms of its content, so keep that in mind as well. It is not a kid-friendly game by any stretch. It's much like the movies. John is going to leave a lot of bodies in his trail, so keep that in mind. But it's very challenging, as you can see. It's very realistic. You'll die many times trying to figure out how to get through each of the levels. It's almost like a puzzle in a sense, because there's a lot of enemies, and John is very easy to kill, like it would be in the movies had John not been a super assassin. But of course, you probably are not a super assassin, so it makes this game very difficult. That said though, you basically need to position John in the positions that are most advantageous while he has an onslaught of enemies trying to attack him, while he tries to satisfy some objective. You can see here I've died multiple times trying to figure out the best way to approach this level. And honestly though, there's a lot of moves that John can do, so you have to kind of figure out which ones are the most make the most sense, balancing stealth as well as ammo management, as your ammo is very, very limited. You have to continuously have battlefield pickups as you progress through a level, as well as manage John's health itself and his focus. As it's the more actions he does, he loses focus, and it becomes less and less likely that he'll make hits on his various targets. So it is very challenging, but it's definitely doable. Every mission is doable. It just sometimes takes a few attempts to figure things out. That said, once you do figure out a mission, it is extremely, extremely satisfying. So every time you'll see that you'll get a little bit further through. It's almost like Groundhog Day in that you kind of repeat the same scenario until you figure it out. And then once you figure it out, you're good to go. And it's very satisfying once you do figure it out. So a lot of it is room clearing and just working angles, essentially. You can see that as John moves around, he loses perspective through the game world, even though it is a top-down type perspective. And a lot of times it means honestly hugging the walls and keeping angles until you make it to your objective. The cool thing is once you finally do make it, you can actually have a replay, which is cinematic, and it appears very similar to the movies, where John will do exactly all of the actions that you did during the game. Every single action is time sensitive. You'll see here when we get back into the gameplay that there's a timer in the top right corner. The actual cutscenes are it's reminiscent almost of Grand Theft Auto in terms of the style. This game doesn't have any like very visual cutscenes. Instead, it has almost like a comic book style. But the artwork is pretty cool. The boss battles are actually really interesting here as well. So you can see here I'm about to jump into a boss battle. The bosses are very difficult to kill, and it makes the game way more challenging. You can see that the boss here has a lot of health, so we're going to try to attack him head on, and honestly that's not a great idea. It's very easy to get surrounded. So you have to be really strategic when it comes to actually attacking the bosses, like getting him into a choke point, kind of luring him into a certain area always seems to be the best type strategy. So here you'll see that I'm going to kind of antagonize him and then attack, but this probably isn't going to end well for John. Let's see. Okay, yeah. That run through obviously did not go very well, but like I said, you learn from your mistakes, so this time I lured him a little bit further out and then into a choke point, throw him down multiple times and then shoot, and that is the way to deal with this guy for sure. So every boss is different and it's a little bit unique here. The best strategy to use for each one, you'll need to think through a bit. But overall, I do appreciate that about this game as well. There's definitely a lot of variety in that sense. The game isn't like a shoot 'em up where there's a ton of different gun options or anything like that. There's actually only a couple guns in game. Most of the game is focused around the strategy and the timing pieces of it. And of course, the cinematics are really cool as well. So that said, highly recommend John Wick HEX. It's honestly very different from any other game that I've ever played. It's not like a shoot 'em up adventure. Instead, it's very strategic thinking. The cinematics are really cool, and it's just a fun game overall. It's definitely one to consider trying out for sure. So if you're a fan of strategy, this is honestly a really good one.